The COVID-19 crisis of 2020 has changed my mindset on thru-hike resupply significantly. I was always going to use mail drops, but now my approach is very different. So in the process of watching a diverse group of thru-hikers in the class of 2020, as the COVID-19 crisis ramped up to a fever pitch, no pun intended, I watched them all one by one come off the trail and go home. One of those from the class of 2020 made the statement that after 2020, the thru-hiking community would never be the same. Now, I know what that class member meant by that statement, and it was a comment that touched on a whole lot of different things and a whole lot of different parts of thru-hiking and a whole lot of different parts of the Appalachian Trail. While I agree with that hiker on the general terms of their statement, it triggered me to do some serious thinking about how I would handle 2021 in light of the coronavirus and its collateral effects on hikers, towns along the trail, and my resupply thoughts. My initial thoughts about resupply in general were more of a hybrid approach between mail drops and town resupply and groceries or other businesses in those towns. Now at that point, I estimated that I would do between 50 and 65% of my total food resupply between those two options. After this present crisis, that has changed drastically. Now, I estimate that I'll use mail drops for anywhere from 90 to 95% of my total resupply needs, not just for food. So why such a drastic change? Well, it's pretty simple, really. People. I took a look at what was happening to towns all across the country, large and small, during the COVID crisis, not just trail towns, and I realized that people, and more specifically their behaviors and responses to a crisis, were going to affect my options and freedom of choice. Now, before you get your hackles up, this is not a political statement. I'm reminded of the scene in Men in Black where Agent K is recruiting Jay. And Jay makes a statement that people are smart. They should be told about these aliens, and K responds with,
"But why the big secret? People are smart. They can handle it."
The person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it.
Another factor is I need to be able to protect those same trail towns that I would normally resupply in. I don't want to take food, cleaning gear, or toilet paper even out of the hands of a town person that legitimately needs those things. If COVID is in play, I want to be able to observe social distancing protocols as much as anyone else in those towns. Doing mail drops, not going into local grocers or other shops or anywhere that could be deemed as non-essential business, is a way for me to protect them, protect myself, and keep the hike going with a much smaller impact on those towns. Obviously, I can't mitigate every risk in those trail towns any more than I can mitigate every risk in my own home, much less my own hometown. I just think it's the right thing to do for everyone. And your mileage and your opinion may vary. And I'm sure I'll get some pushback on this, or even maybe a little bit of hate, but hey, that's okay too. Life is about choices, and I'm making mine. You're gonna make yours. So what is a mail drop exactly? Simply put, it is mailing a box filled with whatever you believe you'll need at that point on the trail to a hotel, a hostel, or a post office in a town on or near the trail. This has been done for decades for all manner of long distance hikes all across America, and it's a useful method of resupply. So what are the pros of doing mail drops? For me, there's three main reasons. One, diet. I have a lot of things I can't eat that would affect me adversely if eaten, and doing my own meals and sending them to myself along the trail is a huge plus. Portion control, variety, diversity of the menu, all of that gets addressed when I'm sending food to myself. Now, ironically, this is going to come up later as a con. Number two, availability. With the panic buying in cities large and small all across the country, it's obvious you're not going to get everything you want at your local grocer in a crisis moment. Now, I'm not just talking about food here. Little things like toilet paper, wet wipes, hand sanitizer, and lots more. All of that got scarce in a hot second when COVID kicked off. Now, while I don't want to be without those things on a through hike, I want even less to take the availability of those things out of the hands of someone in a trail town that I'm passing through for as little as 4 hours to as much as 48. This is why when I gave percentages at the beginning, it went from a little better than half the food to almost all of everything that I would need over the course of a hike. Number 3, flexibility. Now, I know you're scratching your head on that one, but stay with me and maybe you'll see what I mean and agree with me. In the book, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, they use a phrase, discipline equals freedom. Now, because I'm being disciplined about sending resupplies to myself and being disciplined about where I'm sending them, I have the freedom to keep doing what I want and need to do and still protect communities around me while lowering my impact on those communities. So what is that thing that I need and want to do? Well, it's called a through hike. This may be against the rationale of many, but I want to have the option to keep hiking when everyone else is heading home. Choices, people, choices. So what are the cons? Well, here's what I see. Number 1, diet. I told you it was going to come up again. There's a probability or a possibility that I'll get burned out on the meals that I'm sending to myself. Now, this is part of why I'm trying to develop as many different recipes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner that I can. If you'll subscribe to the channel, you'll get to see those as I put them together. Well, hey, there's one right there. Now, I'll link it at the end of the video so you can watch it later, but there's going to be a lot of those coming along. Number 2, logistics. Mail drops are a lot of work. From pulling the items together to packaging to mailing, it all gets a little time consuming. Now, mail drops may not be your thing, and this one point may break your spirit right here and now. Logistics it's kind of my jam. It's a big part of what I do for a regular job, so I'm already thinking in that avenue. I'm kind of already jonesing a little bit about the planning and the prep work that goes with this. Yeah, I know. Nerd, power 10. I get it. Number 3, flexibility. Yeah, I know I had that as a pro and now I've got it as a con. The truth is, the post office hours are a little wonky at times. They're not open on Sundays, for one, and so the timing of the town stop to get to the post office can be an issue at times, particularly if you got a hitch to get to that town that your drop's in. Hotels and hostels are a little better bet, but even those are not immune to being shut down, as we've seen in this COVID crisis. Outfitters may be deemed essential businesses, but you may not want to send a resupply box to a business that sells all the same stuff that you have in your box. Stay classy, people. I'm just saying. Number 4, one last con, or pro, depending on your perspective, is too much stuff. Maybe you don't need a full, fresh roll of toilet paper at that point on the trail, or you still got meals left over from the last resupply. Now, I'm sure that's going to happen in my case, so I hope to turn the con into a pro by sharing the love. A little trail magic never hurts. Now, there are boxes at hostels and shelters where hikers leave what they don't need or don't want for other hikers coming behind. And trust me, I'm a heck of a cook. Fellow hikers are going to fight over my extra meals, and I'm betting nobody's going to turn away toilet paper or hand sanitizer, especially if it's free. So, how do you set up your mail drops? First, I'm going to keep mine pretty simple. Reference books like AWOL's AT Guide is an excellent resource for use both on the trail and in planning your through hike. Now, I'm going to use mine to see what towns are closest to the trail. You can get the zip code for the local post office in that town, and looking up the precise address is easily done on the USPS website. From there, you just need to address it properly. Keep in mind, there are a couple of rules that you'll need to follow to make sure that this process goes smoothly. Number 1, use your real name. No trail names or nicknames here. When you pick up that box, whether it's the post office or a hotel or hostel, they're going to ask for your ID. And I doubt you have a driver's license with your trail name on it. And if you do, that is awesome. How in the crap did you do that? Number 2, care of. Care of general delivery is going to a post office, or care of the name of the hotel or hostel who will hold your package. Now keep in mind that in the AWOL guide, they list which hotels and hostels or other businesses have already agreed to hold thru-hiker packages. This guide is updated every year, so it's a reliable resource. If in doubt, make a phone call and talk to somebody who can verify that they'll hold your stuff. Number 3, the correct address. Be careful here. You don't want that precious and priceless roll of toilet paper going somewhere that you ain't. Number 4, hold for AT thru-hiker. Now, this lets the important folks on the receiving end know why they are getting this box of God knows what. Number 5, an ETA. Giving an estimated time of arrival helps them to know when to throw your stuff away. They'll usually hold a box for 2 to 3 weeks around that date that you list. Now, my wife's gonna play post office for me. Why are you snickering? Stop that. She'll have a spreadsheet of what to box up and when to send it and where before I leave for the hike. Priority mailboxes generally take 2 to 3 days to get where you want it to go, but you can hedge your bet and account for 5 to 6. That way, if you're slow or the USPS is slow, you can still get your package and all will be right with the hike. Well, there you go, kids. Resupply box mail drops, pros, cons, and how to set them up. Take a shot at using those for your next long distance hike. Now, what do you think about my pros? I mean, what do you think about my cons? Chime in with a comment of what you see or have experienced as the pros and cons of doing mail drops. And until next week, take a hike, love somebody along the way.